preference between each of those, like each of those roles? Because that's very similar to my background. I've kind of done, one of each, solution architect, consultant, and developer. Do you have a preference between the three?
I would say it would depend on the maturity of the company. For instance, when it's a mature company, I love like being confronted to the people. So I would be like more on a business analyst or a product owner of the part. But if it's a company that is not that much of mature, I would prefer to be the solution architect, because when I've been stuck with a problem, just like, okay, now that I resolved it, I don't really want to keep going with the developing part. So yeah.
Yeah, completely understood. Thank you. And Juveria, what about you? How did you become an RPA developer?
It was a very funny story, actually. I was working as an IBM middleware integration developer, and I saw that whatever I am deploying, nobody's coming in telling me, oh, you made this impact and your application helped me. And I wasn't getting that. And I kind of wanted to see what impact I'm making. And I was working for a bank. So one day my HOD is like, see, we are going to start automation. We need a new team and you have to, go through all of the training process, etc. And I was like, okay, I'm all in. And then we start with the training and we deployed our first project. It was a very complicated financial transaction process that we automated. And at the end, the team for which we did the automation came back and congratulated us that we did a good job. And that's there when I could see that I've, as a developer, actually made an impact somewhere. And that led me to become an RPA developer. Like I just stuck to it. Like, okay, that's something that I want to do. So it happened like that.
Awesome. That's a great story. And that's, again, one of the reasons that I love being in the RPA industry. You can actually see those results, and it's still so interesting to see, the people that you're helping go, wow, this is amazing. I don't have to do that process anymore, or, that robot's now part of my team. So yeah, that's lovely. Thank you. And Jacqui, what about you? What led you to becoming an RPA developer?
So that's it's been quite a journey. So I think, as I've already mentioned, I actually wanted to become a politician in high school, and luckily that kind of changed, and I got quite a few opportunities to actually go study IT. So while I was busy studying IT, I actually started, getting involved in data science and data engineering, and I worked with a company that actually did research in these kinds of topics. So I got involved there, decided that was cool and all, but I want to figure out what else is there in the IT space. So I applied to a company where I became a web developer, did some work there, worked on SharePoint sites and those kinds of things. Realized that was cool, but it wasn't quite where, I wanted to go with my career. So I got involved in data and did a whole bunch of different things, learned a whole bunch of different things about data. And I realized I was actually quite passionate about that. So I kind of stuck with that for a little bit. And then we got an offer from one of our clients, or from one of the people engaging with us through our clients, that said that RPA is a new thing that is, happening in the industry at the moment. And from a business side of things, we actually need somebody to drive this. We need somebody to, upskill on the technologies, figure out what our clients want, and then start developing it. So we went through this journey of, learning UiPath and, being put in front of clients in their own environments and starting to develop proof of concepts for them. And that was great. It was a steep learning curve, but it was quite cool to pick it up and run with it. And that was kind of, I think, one of the things that Juveria and Katharine have also mentioned now. It is so easy to sell RPA. It's so easy to see what value you're delivering, because all that you do is you take a process, you automate the process, and when you show or demonstrate the process to the person who was actually executing it, you can actually see, the joy light up on their face, because this is so cool and it was done so quickly. So that's where my passion for automation kind of stems from. Along with, what it means for technology. So from the broader perspective, having also done the solution architecture, the business analysis, working with the pure data side of things, working with the web development side of things, IoT, all those things, to see how RPA brings all of those together and how that's evolving and turning into things like intelligent automation and concepts that I think are going to shape our future. That's really what keeps me passionate about RPA and why I kind of ended up and stuck in this space.
Amazing. Yeah, I completely agree with you. And yeah, I also feel stuck in this space, but not out of, it's because I enjoy it and it's because we are passionate about it. So yeah, no, absolutely agree with you. Awesome. And Hiba, you said, obviously it's only been 2 years since you've been in the RPA industry. And if my maths is correct, that's just the pandemic, right? So how has that journey been for you? And kind of, you know, has it felt difficult at times? Has it felt like a long journey? And have you overcome any challenges or anything along the way?
Yeah, sorry, actually, I think it was in 2019. I forgot that we're already in 2022. So actually it's been like already 3 years. Yeah, just before the pandemic. Yeah, so I discovered that, and that helped a lot to learn UiPath before the pandemic, because during the pandemic, people were just like, okay, we need quickly to, you know, to have solutions on hand, especially the pharmacy and the hospitals, the industries. They were just like, we need quickly solutions. So thanks to the fact that I was used to UiPath products before, it was easily first to have another trainship, because at that time I was still looking for another trainship. And that's also easy to find a job because you're in the automation industry. Thankfully, we're girls also, it does also help. So yeah, that was pretty helpful.
Nice, very, very cool. Yeah. And Juveria, what about you? What has your journey looked like up until this point? Are there any major challenges or anything?
I think I came from a very, hard code made to write the classes and bring in the namespace and start coding. And when I came into RPA, especially, I started with UiPath only, and it was a low code platform. It kind of gave me the pleasure, I was not wasting time to import libraries or create classes and, code from the scratch, but I was developing and deploying things at a great speed, I would say. So it was more productivity. That kind of made me happy. And I remember I started in 2018, and that was a very good time. No lockdowns, nothing, and we were so happy. We were reaching out to people. We were having demonstration in person, and then we could see what they wanted, what they did not. And it was nice. But as soon as this whole pandemic struck, the whole of this journey, the happy moments that I was having kind of changed. It was a huge influx of project. We want it done now because, we are in lockdown and things are piling up, and, you have to just complete it, and stricter timelines, you're not able to interact. But as we learned how to, deal with these kind of situations, I think we came back to the normal. So my happy face came back again, and quite settled in being like that now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely changed my experience of working and these types of events as well. I think, I can't wait until we're fully back and meeting people in person. But at least I've been able to do a lot from my own house and see so much more, joining different webinars and stuff. So yeah, I agree with you there.
Yeah.
And Jacqui, what about you? So obviously you kind of gave us an overview of your very interesting journey. How has that journey looked and how felt from your side? Has it been difficult? Has it been a mission to get to the point where you are now? Any major challenges?
So I think the journey to get here was quite an interesting one, as you mentioned. I was lucky enough to have quite a few different opportunities open up to me, along the journey. And I had a lot of mentors and people who were willing to guide me and help me, through the journey, which is always great, especially, when you get to situations where you've got a new technology that is emerging. You're trying to learn how that is supposed to find its way into the industry that we're so used to. I mean, like Juveria was saying as well, I think a lot of us, might be a little bit more familiar with, the common concept of hard code when you're working with software development. And I think RPA has changed that for a lot of people. And I'm really happy to see how that's been embraced into our industry. Throughout my journey, I think that's probably one of the greatest achievements, is to be able to see how citizen development has come about and how we can actually allow other people to do what we do almost as well as we do, in some cases, if not better, because they have some level of understanding or subject matter expertise that make them a little bit more applicable or suitable for those positions. So in terms of the journey, it's been really interesting to see how that kind of comes together. I think the COVID pandemic was an interesting one for me specifically because I am somebody who likes to sit behind a screen as well. I am a lot more productive. I'm one of those people who have the sticky on my back. Please don't talk to me because I won't get anything done. So in terms of my productivity, it has been quite a blessing to be able to work, remotely and be able to communicate with people all over the world. I think that's definitely changed the way that I communicate with people and, try and understand them on a different level. I think the pandemic has introduced me to a lot more people's families and their dogs and their pets, which I've been very grateful for. So from that perspective, it's been quite interesting as well.
Yeah, I would totally agree. I've definitely enjoyed meeting the pets. And when people apologize when there's like a cat walking across the keyboard, I'm like, no, it's absolutely fine. This is just, we've all had to adjust and we've all had to kind of learn to do our jobs again. I think I had a very clear way of how I worked pre-pandemic and it's changed and adjusted. So, and yeah, we're still doing it. We're still moving on. So so you mentioned briefly in there about mentors. That's something I'm really interested to hear. Have you had like kind of a few key mentors or kind of mentors, people that you don't know personally, someone you just kind of looked up to?
So that's actually quite an interesting one. This morning when I was getting ready to post on LinkedIn and, just recognize everybody who's had a hand in my journey, specifically, from our female audiences and, the women in our villages, as I like to put it, that have had a hand and have mentored me. It was actually, to your question, was actually quite interesting to see how many people I'd realized had made an impact that I might not necessarily have known well, but that I've always looked up to. So even though I didn't really communicate with them much, I followed their journey closely on LinkedIn and on Twitter and those kinds of things. And even, in some cases, their broadcasts that they had on different channels, on different platforms. And it was really interesting to understand how that shaped my life, along with people who, we communicate with every day, people who motivate you and who push you to, do a little bit better and who teach you it's okay to kind of, do what you're doing and just keep to your pace and just that kind of reassurance that you're doing good. I think that's something that has been really helpful and very important, in my journey with the different mentors that I've had as well. There are quite a few that have, obviously a more direct impact. I think we've got those, I think all of us can kind of relate to that. And then apart from that, there's obviously those people that we look up to that we don't necessarily know at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And Juveria, what about you? Are there any kind of key mentors you've had or what impact have they had on your journey?
Well, this concept of having mentors is very new to me because I come from a market especially like South Asian market and APAC region where it's very male dominant. And I've had bosses who've been only males and, the kind of temperament they have is very different from when you have a female boss. And that I realized when I landed in the UK. And I had this whole, team where women, specifically them, they were interested in guiding you and mentoring you and telling you how to survive. And so I think I found my mentors when I came to UK, and there are a few I look up to, and there are a few I personally go to and talk about my work, be it anything, not just like related to my work, other aspects of life as well. So yeah, I think it's a good experience and late one still, but I'm happy about it.
That's really interesting. I didn't think that was something that I thought that was kind of a global, normal everywhere. So it's interesting that that's come a lot stronger as you've moved to the UK. So.
I think like this session should be a platform where we could actually promote this mentorship kind of thing globally. It's very much needed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would love you to be my mentor as well. So. And Hiba, what about you? Have you had some mentors in your career?
Like technical mentors, not really, because I've been working on UiPath Academy. Because at the period where I was a trainee, my train mentor, I don't know how to say it, but yeah, he was not technical at all. Like he had no technical background. He was just it's pretty fine, but project manager. And so he just gave me UiPath Academy. I was just like, okay, we just need you to be able to develop in a few months. And so I was just like, okay, so let's start with it. And I discovered that the UiPath world, like forum, people are so gentle and they help so much. At that time, it was often Pablito and login error that were answering a lot. So thank you if you are hearing this. Thank you very much. So yeah, basically they were my virtual mentors. Every time I had an error, I was just like, okay, please help. And when later on, it was often like people that were not that did not have a technical background that helped me, but more on the how do I say it, the budgets or the schedules, etc., that I had to give to the clients. They helped me a lot on these because I did not know really a lot about this. But about technical background, it was just like practically learning from scratch. And now that we're growing the UiPath French community, I discovered people that were like greatly pretty strong, like a very good technical background. And so now they're becoming my mentors. Like I'm just learning from them, and we also learn from each other. So yeah, it's now that I'm like more close to the UiPath community world, it's pretty easy.
That's really lovely to hear. And I think that's exactly right, that it doesn't have to be kind of, you know, the one person that you look up to and you speak to every week. I think that you can find that mentors in all sorts of different places, virtual ones, absolutely, people you've never met before, and but people who are there to help you and support you. And it's lovely to hear. And I absolutely have felt the same in the UiPath community, and especially with the other MVPs, that everyone is, you know, supportive and so enthusiastic about what we're trying to do, and you know, our achievements are everyone's achievements, which is just absolutely lovely. So yeah, massively, it's really great to hear that as well. So going back to kind of your careers and your journeys, is there any kind of fixed goal or objective that you wanted to achieve as you were kind of, you know, as you're progressing? I know obviously, you know, there's not many years in it, but is there anything kind of that you've achieved so far, or that's what you're aiming for, or anything that you want to look for in the future, any goals or objectives? Hiba, we'll start with you.
Yeah, back in 2019, I was hoping to be better, you know, on UiPath products, because I was just like, okay, let's start from a blank process, and I was not very strong, you know, all the framework, etc. After this, I had like to have at least 1 year of experience to not be afraid of frameworks and start to understand how does it work. And so, yeah, step by step, I decided to be challenging, like with myself, just like, okay, don't be afraid, just go with it, just start to learn. And about the community objectives, in 2021, so just last year, no, 2 years ago, I discovered the 2021 MVPs, and I was just like, okay, what's that? I don't know what's about it. So I was just like, okay, just this year I'm going to concentrate on this title. I'll start to understand what's the community, starting from scratch. And so, yeah, with time being, I started to be chapter leader. I was just so happy. And so I was just like, okay, but I need to focus on the MVP title. And so now that I had the MVP title, I'm pretty proud of it. I'm pretty happy where all the team went to. And so I'm just like, okay, let's keep going with this work. It's still not finished, and we're hoping to grow more the community, the French community, and to let more people get in and, yeah, just evangelize, you know, the UiPath word so they understand. And also one of my future objectives are to open up more about the other products, because back in 2020, we had like the trio, like orchestrator, studio, and agent. And now there's just like so many projects. I'm just like, okay, I need to start to get interested into these projects. So I hope like my future steps will be more on the other projects.
Nice. I always say it's like a full-time job, keeping up with all the updates to all the products and everything in UiPath. So I feel you there, absolutely. Lovely. And Juveria, what about you? Did you have any kind of clear objectives or goals that you were working towards?
So when I started, I had this in mind, like I wanted to travel with my all expenses and job there in place. So I kind of achieved that. So I've been traveling APAC, multiple countries, then landed here and all of that. I think one of that is already there, but now I would like to have an anchor to my career. Like I've been moving, and it's very risky when you move quite a lot, and like different roles, different companies, and there's a time when you want to settle down in a particular role. I think I found that kind of, you know, anchor now at this point of time. But where I want to grow would be like more into like take my career to a more techno-functional role. I've done a lot of development. I've understood what kind of business goes on, how we are creating those kind of impact. Now more towards the business side. And when it comes to community, I found like when I was in Malaysia, there was like a total different mindset, and it changes like every other place it changes. You won't believe people in Malaysia had a very different mindset towards jobs, automation, etc. And when I moved to Philippines, people were very different, and now in UK things are very different again. So would like to build a community where people like could be very, you know, open, come and learn, have sessions, talk about ideas, automate together, keep it. For example, we've got marketplace. It's an ever-growing space. So I want to build a community in UK where people can come, discuss ideas, build solutions, and upload it for everyone to use in general, something like that. Yeah, that's what my aim is.
Very nice. Yeah. And I mean, the traveling must have been difficult again through the pandemic. I absolutely love to travel as well. And having to stay in my house for a very long time was difficult. So it's really good that you've been able to achieve that along the way. That's brilliant. And Jacqui, what about you? Any goals or objectives?
Yeah, so just before I get to that, I also just want to thank Cristina for adding the links into the chat. So she's added the mentorship platform link as well as the community hub link. So for those of you who haven't seen it in the chat, just go take a look there. And then to answer your question as well, Katharine, yeah, so if you asked me that question a few years ago, I would have told you that I don't know where I want to be and I don't know what I want to do. I just know that whatever I end up doing and wherever I end up doing it, I want to be great and I want to take as many people with me as possible. And I think to a large extent that is still, very prominent. I think when people start talking to me about a 5-year or 10-year plan, I start to freak out because I don't know what the future looks like that far ahead. But what I do know is I want to continue learning from people and I want to, continue helping people, get to the levels that we need to be at for this community to keep growing, at the same exponential pace that it has been growing. Something that I've been doing and something that's on one of my short-term, goals and fixed objectives is to take a very academic approach to RPA as well. So about 2 years ago, it's roughly 2 years ago, I started my master's degree. And I focused quite a lot on RPA, but it was so difficult to find, academic references and so on, specifically talking to RPA and what it is and what it does and how it was formed and all that stuff. So, I mean, my thesis, for the most part, just has a whole bunch of UiPath and Crichton references everywhere that are just normal, websites. So something that I'm aiming to do, I've now finished my master's and I'm now going to start my PhD this year, and something that I'm definitely aiming to do, something that is one of my top priorities is to make sure that RPA and intelligent automation and those kinds of concepts have a much more predominant role in academia as well. I think, by introducing it in that aspect as well, we've got a lot more people that have visibility on it. We've got more people, researching it. We've got more people open to the idea of what it is and how it can be used. And I think that's also another way that we can, bring the two worlds together and kind of see how we can go from there.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And yeah, some very stronger goals to look forward to and to work towards. So that's really good to hear. I'd like asking this question because I think I have an interesting answer of it. If you could go back and tell your younger self something, given what you know about the industry, the RPA industry in particular, what would you say? Hiba, let's start with you.
I think it would be like to be not afraid of changes, of people around that are learning quickly, and just accept what comes and go with the flow.
Nice. Yeah, keep it simple. I love that. That's really good advice, actually. Juveria?
Quite a funny one, actually. I would say just don't stress too much learning coding and stuff, because very soon you'll have low code, no code platform. Just chill, relax, one thing at a time. What I would say.
That's also very similar. Just stop worrying is what I've heard from both of you so far. So.
Exactly.
And I think that's a similar thing to what I would say as well. So Jacqui, anything else, or kind of emulate what Hiba and Juveria have said?
It's more or less along the same lines. So I would definitely tell my younger self to spend more time with your unicorns. I'm obsessed. So, spend less time worrying. You'll have a community that will embrace you for who you are, and just be yourself. Let your inner kid out.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that. I love that kind of, looking back is something that I wish I would have done at the start of my career as well. And so it's nice to kind of look back and see, what we can tell future RPA developers and people in industry as well. Is there any particular kind of skills or talents that you have that you think are really suited to the type of role that you have now? Hiba, is there anything that you would kind of say that's something that I really excel and I'm glad that that is, you know, a skill that I have?
I would say to be adaptative. Yeah, I think it's like this that we say it. Like when we have a situation, even if it's not my specialty, I'm just like, okay, I'll just take care of it and find after this who can help me or how to deal with it. Being it, you know, like upfront with the client that does not understand. I've not been prepared with the meeting. I'm just like, okay, here, Hiba, you have to come to this meeting and, you know, like find all the answers, etc. So yeah, it was to be very adaptive, to accept, to not be able to have all the answers. It was also very important. And yeah, to be curious, because in the IT world, not specifically in UiPath world, we have to be curious if we want to stay in the IT field.
Absolutely. And Juveria?
I think I would say patience and open to learning. Patience, why? Because we come from an industry, specifically whosoever amongst us who've been developing code, we know that when we go with the demonstration, there would be something definitely new added or new changes would be coming in. So patience is required and open to learning, because technology is changing. UiPath has so many products. You should be open to learn. So that's helped me quite a lot.
Cool. And Jacqui, same question.
So yeah, thank you for that. I think this is something that I'd gotten advice on quite early on in my career. You know, I think as somebody who's coming into industry and, you know, wants to be a success, you kind of, you know, find mentors and you ask them, you know, how is it that you're a success? I kind of want to follow in your footsteps and I want to get there too. And a piece of advice that I was given that has kind of helped me shape, you know, to where I've gotten is that there are 3 steps in any role that you're going to enter. The first one is that you enter your role, you understand your responsibilities, you understand where you're supposed to be. The second step is then you make that role your own. You put your own stamp of approval on it, and you know you kind of shape it into what you want it to be. And then the third is that you actually have to develop somebody to take over from you one day. And once that person is now developed and they can take over from you, you move on and you go do it again. You start the whole process over. So I think when it comes to skills, I think that is something that I had to learn really early on. And I think that's really helped me, because for every role that I've been in, you know, through the web development, through the data, through the IoT, through everything, I've kind of practiced that, and it's helped me really understand what I need to do to get to where I am today. So when I say that I'm able to architect solutions and design solutions and those kinds of things, I know that it's not just, you know, something that I think is right in that moment. I know that it's something that has actually come quite a long way, and everything that I've been through has kind of prepared me for the solution, even if it is the 10th solution or the 15th or the 100th solution. You know, the last one has helped me be better with this one. So I think, you know, being able to retrospectively look at, you know, where you've been and kind of how you've gotten to where you are, that is something that I think is very underrated, especially in you know, a community of women. I think that is one of our strengths. And I think that is something that we need to play to more.
Brilliant, thank you. I've just seen you put a question in the chat. Hiba, is this something you've been messaged? Do you want to answer that first? So do you plan to keep staying a developer, or sometimes do you think of switching into other positions like management, training, infrastructure, etc.?
Yeah, I was thinking that the question just popped because I was just like, yeah, we're like speaking of the developer in the room basically. And personally, I think that I'll be, I'm pretty interested, you know, to make people learn. So maybe switching to training positions, and maybe after that's management, etc. But I'll keep like wanting to be updated about the project, not every time to produce codes, but like being sure that others understand the codes and learn, and also be able to manage like a team, etc.
Awesome. And Juveria, it's the same question to you. Do you plan on kind of staying in as a developer, or thinking about switching?
So I did switch from a developer to a consultant role. So I believe in being jack of all trades. Should be master of one, but jack of all trades, so you can keep moving and, you know, exploring. And it's important to keep your work life interesting. So when you are stuck in a particular role, you come into a very comfort zone of your own and you do not want to explore anything. And that's a career suicide. That's what I believe. So keep moving in various roles.
Awesome. And Jacqui, what about you?
So I wouldn't necessarily switch to other positions, but I would definitely try to find, a place where those can kind of be incorporated into each other. So, I mean, for me, the ideal would be to have some sort of position where not only do we develop, not only do we architect, not only do we understand business requirements, but we also train and lead. And I think for anybody who finds himself in the RPA space, there is a lot of learning to be done, and there's also a lot of teaching to be done, because it is, still relatively new. There are still a lot of people trying to develop their skills in this space. So yeah, for me, it's kind of bringing all of that together in one place rather than trying to jump between multiple different roles.
Yeah, I would kind of agree with that, and very similar to kind of all of your answers there. I think I definitely changed as well. So I've always been a consultant, but I was mainly focused as a developer right at the start of my career, and as I progressed, I've started to kind of lead teams and do a lot more of the kind of solution architect side of things and management, and in my position now I'm got a lot more responsibility than I've ever had before. So it's almost like my role has just kind of progressed, but I will always keep that element of being a developer, and it's probably the same for all of you, that we actually like building robots so we'll probably still do it even if it's not like the core part of our job. So yeah, absolutely. I'll ask this question as well, especially because it's International Women's Day. How does it feel to be a woman in RPA in 2022? And do we feel like this sector has kind of big potential for women? So Hiba, let's start with you.
Well, about the potential, yes. Being a woman, I think, well, in the French market, I don't know about the other markets, but when you're recruiting someone, because I've been also recruiting, so I have the other side. When you're recruiting people, we're trying, to have like 20-20, like boys and girls. And when we have women, we're just like, oh, that's great, we're having more people, etc. So we tend to have like more easy access to the women careers. So yeah, basically, I think that there's a lot of potential for girls, especially that when we compare girls in the IT industry and in the business management or marketing or other fields, we see that there is slightly a difference between the number of women. So when we see IT women, it's like pretty fine, and we're just happy. And I feel that the curve is just rising up, so it's pretty fine. I think there's a lot of potential, especially in RPA, because we're still starting. Like before, it was just like automating the process, and now it's like adding machine learning, adding more intelligence. And I'm sure like in 10 years, we'll discover something else. I was just like, oh yeah, why did we not think about this? So yeah, I think there's still lots of potential.
Brilliant, thank you. And Juveria, what about you? How does it feel to be a woman in RPA in 2022?
Honestly, it feels great. But I actually got a quote from one of the research paper published from Institute of Public Policy Research, which says that twice as many women as men work in occupation with potential for automation. And that is 9% as compared to 4% men. So now it's not a question of like, do we have the time to upscale or, reskill our skill? We should actually do it, or we would become redundant in coming future, and we don't want that. What I've seen, again, comparing very two different markets, APAC and Europe, APAC had this tendency where men were more keen on learning, and there were women who would like actually be comfortable taking the sidelines. I think it's time to change that, and things are very different in Europe, and I feel there are more women in automation here, and kind of feels great to have a team. You kind of have same feelings, when you're working. So it's kind of changed in that ways. And yeah, I think UiPath community has done a great work in that sense. Like we had this whole chapter we had a group in KL where people, especially women, used to come and tell problems if they're facing issues with coding or just the studio as a citizen developer, etc. Yeah, so it's good.
That's brilliant to hear. And yeah, those statistics still blow my mind. It's 2022, and that's still fact. So thank you for sharing that. And Jacqui, same question to you.
So I think I'm actually proud to be, a woman in the RPA and in the automation industry. I think there's been quite a lot of visibility on the issue of, neutrality and kind of the ratio between men and women in our industry in South Africa. And I think we've seen quite a large uptake in people trying to change that. So, I mean, the organization that I work for currently, all 3 reporting lines directly above me, excluding myself, are all females. So I've now become, very surrounded by females in the industry that I work in. And it's great to see. I mean, most of the people that I'm communicating with now on a day-to-day basis, are females. And it makes me really proud to see, how far we've come and how far we've, I think, matured to be able to allow things like that to happen. And I think a large contributing factor to, kind of based on what Juveria was saying as well, is, women's want to, or kind of enthusiasm to stay involved in what we're doing. That's definitely changed. And I think it's because there's more motivation, there's more inspiration. We're encouraging more people and we're saying, look, it's okay to be here. Do what you need to do to get where you want to be. And that's kind of the philosophy that makes me proud to be where I am today.
That's brilliant to hear. Thank you so much. That's and that's kind of exactly how I feel. I'm very, very proud to be in the position I'm in, and to be able to, share events like this with all of you. It's, it's so wonderful to hear. Just, I felt very inspired. I hope everyone on the call has also felt very inspired, just hearing the stories of where people have come from and their struggles and challenges and see. You want to see people who are, like you in positions that you want to be in. So, so I think I'll ask one more question before we jump to any Q&A, because I know we've had some questions in the chat. So final question directly from me, and we've slightly covered this, but maybe if you could just summarize, what does this future look like for you and your desired career path? Hiba, let's start with you.
I would say keep learning, staying in this track, also trying to start a new project. I'm pretty interested by product like process mining and text mining. Also, keep learning about machine learning and trying to join, because as I've been data scientist before, I just like to add, this competence to this skill. With the RPA field. And just have fun in my career and switching whatever the number needs it to be.
Brilliant. And Juveria?
Well, as I mentioned, techno-functional role would be great, and that's where I want to grow, but keeping in touch with the development practices.
Awesome. And Jacqui?
So I think, it's going to be quite a bit of work to get there, but I think immediately, the 5-year thing is not really going to work for me, but I think immediately, my PhD lies ahead of me. I've taken up a lecturing role with quite a few different organizations, both internationally and here in South Africa. And I think the whole kind of principle behind that, while trying to maintain a full-time, job in industry, working on automation as a day-to-day basis, is to do what we were saying about bringing all of those skills that we need together and being able to, not only learn, but also teach and develop and design and do all the things that we're happy and passionate about, and bring that together in one place. So that's kind of going to be, what I'm going to center, my career around and my career path around in the next few years, making sure that no matter where I end up, I'm able to do all of those things that have kept me passionate, throughout the last 3 years, a few years, not 3 years, a few years.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Thank you for answering all my questions. I think we've probably had a couple of questions in there. So Cristina, do you want to, is there any questions we can shout out from the chat?
Yeah. And then I think I would like to ask something. So I will just give me a moment. So now I will enable everyone to open their mics if they want. Okay, so now everyone is able to unmute. So Geetha, can you unmute and ask the question directly? Because Geetha has a question regarding the MVP road and title to our MVPs. Let me ask Geetha. Okay. Geetha, I know you're still okay.
Yeah, hi. Hello all. I wish everyone happy Women's Day here, and I must say you all are very inspiring. So I have a couple of questions for you girls. So, what is the impact of UiPath MVP title in your professional life? And could you please give us some inputs or suggestions on how to work towards an MVP title? And my last question is expert level programming mandatory to become an MVP?
Okay, how do we do? Like, Katharine, do you still give us the?
You go for it. You answer. Go ahead.
Okay, maybe for the first question in my case, and then the other questions, you go, girls. About the first question, which was what did the MVP title give to personally my own career? Like from one day to another, I had like lots of LinkedIn connections. Like this was the main difference. Also other offers, like IT offers from France and also in the other international parts that I was not specifically thinking. I'm specifically thinking of my Middle East. I've just never thought of going there, but why not? And what else? Lots of visibility, because directly you have like a role, and also you have like a sort of image that you have to keep with it.
Of course.
Also a little bit more pressure to just like be to do your best, actually, to manage to do what you want, and also the way that your audience and also the people that are around you, your community is going in.
Thank you, Hiba. Thank you very much for that.
I think
Juveria,
maybe Juveria, but yeah.
I think loads of visibility, I would say. Yes, lots of LinkedIn connections, lots of offers. But apart from that, I would say it comes in as a responsibility. So if you have the title, you have to validate it. You've earned it, and stay true to what you've earned, right? So that's the kind of responsibility comes as an add-on apart from the kind of job you're doing. And also staying relevant to the market. So if there are a lot of UiPath releases, at least pick up your niche and you try and excel in that. So that kind of things, I think, came up with being an MVP, and also at a level where I was considered that, okay, if something happens with UiPath in my company, go to her. She knows everything. So that kind of responsibility means that you have to keep yourself upgraded with whatever releases are coming in, right? And how to be a UiPath MVP, I would say, just contribute as much as you can. Like join your chapters in the region you are. Join your chapters, reach out to people, contribute on the forum, anywhere, marketplace, etc. That's one way of being a good MVP.
Thanks, Juveria. Thanks for that.
I think Katharine, take a go at this one now.
Me? Oh. Well, I this is my second year as an MVP, and it's absolutely, the visibility is a key part of that. And I think it's the support and the insights that you get. So support from my other MVPs. You can always ask a question and someone will have an answer or help you try and find an answer, which is really lovely. And the insights into the different products as well. So we have sessions with with the product owners, and we can actually influence the direction that the products are going, which is really cool. In terms of, I think there's nothing really more to add apart from what Juveria said in terms of what to do to get yourself to that MVP status is just contribute. I don't know how you can survive in the RPA or in the UiPath arena without being part of the forums and watching YouTube videos and all of that. It's impossible to avoid. And then I think you asked, your last question as well was around, do you have to kind of have that coding background? I don't have a coding background. I studied maths at university. I cannot code, but I know enough to be able to use UiPath and to get the most out of UiPath. It's a low code platform, which I think is brilliant. It allows it to be so open to so many people as well. Jacqui, I don't know if there's anything else to just add on to there.
I fully agree with what you're saying. I'm kind of going to start from the back. I agree with what you're saying completely. You don't need any computer or IT or programming experience to be able to do this. I mean, we've seen people who, have studied HR or, have lived for 10, 15 years in payroll and have made a complete success of, switching to making UiPath a career. So I think, from that perspective, that's the beauty of living in an environment where we've got little to no code. I think that's just going to keep growing and changing. And yeah, I mean, apart from going to forums and contributing there, if you find something new or you've sat on a challenge that you couldn't really find a solution for on the forums, and you find a solution, then post it somewhere. I think blog posts are a really big part of the community. I think that's something that a lot of us also use and find and kind of use, make sure that our journey follows. And then the MVP title, apart from, the extra LinkedIn connections and additional, requests to, I don't know, author different blog posts and, hey, do you want to come switch jobs or things like that? Something that has really helped me a lot specifically, and this is something that I've had to face, for quite a few years, is the age difference. So I think it's cool for us, I don't think RPA is an industry that holds any bias on age or gender or anything like that, which I find amazing. It's one of the things that I'm really happy about here. But, traditionally, if you were an application architect or if you design solutions with hard code, background, you'd need 15 years of experience. And I mean, obviously, that's not going to happen with RPA being so new. So the fact that we've got MVP titles helps us assure people that, we kind of know what we're doing now. You can ask us questions and we can kind of help you as best we can. If we can't, we're going to point you in the direction of somebody who can. So that's been something that's helped me quite a lot, because I work still in an environment where we've got a lot of people who are, very hard code focused. They've got that heavy coding background. So they don't really understand the journey that it takes to get into RPA or what it's about. So I think that's something that's helped me a lot as well. And obviously it's really cool to stand in front of a client and say, this is kind of the recognition we've received from UiPath. They trust us, you can trust us too. We'll do the best we can on your solutions.
Sure. Thank you, Jacqui. Thank you very much.
So, we have some more questions in the chat. Now we have a question from Elisa. Elisa, would you like to unmute yourself and ask yourself, or would you want me to place the question? You can unmute yourself if you want. Elisa?
Are you able to hear me?
Okay, so Elisa is asking, she's saying like, I'm an agile person and I'm doing the RPA.
Are you able to hear me?
Oh, you're here, okay. Can you ask?
Sorry, are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, yes, okay, sorry. I'm quite new in the RPA with us journey, so I'm doing the RPA Citizen Developer Academy, and actually I'm I'm employed in the HR, and I'm the responsible for rewards. So I had a lot of tasks that I can automate it by myself, and so this is the reason why I approach with us. So starting with that, I discovered that it's really interesting for me to use with us, and I'm interested to learn from you and to listen from you what the suggestion that you can give me to boost my journey in the WiTask.
Let's get one answer per question now, because we don't have we only have half an hour left or more. So, and we have quite some questions now. So basically, Elisa she's working in HR. She's saying I'm doing the RPA Citizen Developer Academy. Would you suggest me how to boost my knowledge to really go further with UI RPA? So who would like to take that question?
I think I'll take this up. Maybe like when you start with your RPA as a citizen developer, go through the academy courses and then sit and think what you actually want to do. There are different roles and profiles you can have as a career. Like when you're developing your career in RPA, you can be a BA, you can be a developer, you can be a solution architect, etc. Choose one and work on that. And then it comes like how you can practice whatever you've learned. Go to the forum, marketplace, etc. There are problem statements, pick one and try solving them. So you will be stuck at places. Reach out to the forum or the community or the MVPs, any one of us here, and let us help you. And that's how you can start building. These are like basic building blocks of how you can start.
Yes, and I Elisa, you can also join the 2 intro sessions we have this week on Studio X. In the Women in Automation series, we have 2 intro sessions this week in Studio X, so you can also attend those.
Okay, perfect. Thanks a lot.
Okay, good. So we'll move on to the next question now, which comes from Carmen. Carmen, would you like to unmute yourself?
Hello, everyone. I just was wondering how you guys keep updated, because I see that RPA is growing too fast. And in the past, I start in RPA when I was starting, then I start to work, and then I forgot about the forum. I used to be active in the forum, but then I started to work, happened, I don't know, 1 year. And then I saw, wow, too many changes. So any advice you do, like monthly, weekly, how you keep updated with all the changes?
Maybe I'll take this one. In our case, well, in the French community, I don't know how does it work in the other communities, but in our case, we decided at least once a month to do an event on a product or on a part of UiPath, and so we meet together and we're just like 2 hours like before the event, like 1 week before, 2 hours or things like this. We're just on the tool and we're just like, okay, let's open forum, let's open YouTube, let's open Academy, and just like, okay, let's try what's this button, what does it do, etc. So we're just purely discovering. And yeah, I suggest you to just start like from scratch, like what is this button, etc., and start part by part, not putting too pressure on yourself because there's so much to learn. And yeah, like schedule yourself. Personally, I take like time once a week at least, just 1 hour maximum to update a little bit myself on it.
Would anyone else want to answer that, like on the updates, because you are MVP, so I suppose every one of you has Jacqui, I see you have your hands up. Okay.
Yeah, so something that I'd like to add as well, what helps me stay up to date is the releases done by UiPath. So UiPath actually have 2 major releases per year. I think it's in April and October. So what I generally do is I go look through their releases. They do monthly releases as well, which are minor releases. So every time one of those releases come out, I go see what changed. And they give very nice summaries to show you what changed. And once you've gone through those summaries, you can see, okay, I'm interested in document understanding. So I'll look at these changes, or, this is something that I'm busy learning. So this is quite applicable to me, or the solutions that I've implemented. And that's how I keep up to date with some of the changes. As I need them, I go figure out what's changed and I go from there. The major releases are generally quite big, and I know the last one, October, had a lot of stuff that came with it. There were new product offerings and everything. So that was a bit of a steep learning curve, but if you break it up into chunks and you kind of prioritize what you want to learn, that helps a lot as well.
Cool, thank you. Sort of, I see I replaced Katharine, so Katharine, I'm sorry. So we have another question from Katya next. Katya, would you like to unmute yourself to ask the question?
Sure. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Amazing. I just want to say hi to everybody. And this has been really inspiring to somebody who's just starting out their RPA journey. So a question that I had for everybody on the panel is, what is one thing that you know now about your career in RPA that you wish that you knew at the beginning of your journey?
I can definitely answer this one, at least from my perspective. It's probably, you're actually going to really like this. Because when I learned about RPA for the first time, I think it was 6.5 years ago, I got a message from a recruiter. I was at the start of my career. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I didn't know what RPA was, to be perfectly honest. And I think I still, after all this time, really do enjoy RPA, and I think it can bring a whole load of benefits that I didn't, when you don't know enough about the industry, it's hard to kind of see that, and also how much it's going to change as well. That would be very good to know up front, that it is going to progress, and the type of industries where it becomes really prevalent, and the number of tools as well that are kind of interconnected with RPAs. It's just expanding all the time. So I think that's probably something I'd like to have told myself at the start of my career.
So Katja, was that answer good for you? From both?
Yes, that was perfect.
Perfect. Okay, we have another question next from Pradipa, and I'm going actually to take this opportunity to tour you through community, because Pradipa is actually asking what is the first step one would take into RPA if they wish to get into RPA. So what is the first step of a learning journey and development journey into RPA? So here, I think the answer was given before when we mentioned the Studio X session and the citizen developer. Of course, it very much counts here, Pradipa, and you can unmute yourself, Pradipa, if you want, please. So it really counts whether you want to start from a non-technical point of view, whether you have no developer experience before, and this you should start as a citizen developer in UiPath. Or if you have some computer science knowledge, some developer experience, you can start directly as an RPA developer. So this is our community hub. Community. Hello, Pradipa.
Hi. Yeah, my question is answered actually. It was said that different roles available, and it's up to us which role we are interested in. Where can I find these roles and know more about these roles so I can understand better and go in that path?
You have now the Academy link in chat. I just gave it. Yes, and this is the Academy website. Yes, and so this is basically your start point in automation with UiPath. Here you have, of course, courses depending on level. So you have the very start level, like Introduction to RPA, teaching you what RPA is and what the automation universe is, and then it moves you into Studio X. And if you want, and here you can just go and start growing by start doing citizen developer foundation and start growing your knowledge like that. Or you can have the option to search by role, and here you can start development by role. See, you have this tab here in Academy.
Yeah, so everything is there in Academy, so we can explore more and then choose from there.
You can explore here when you choose learn by role, and you have 12 learning plans depending. So it will take you like whether you want to be an RPA architect, whether you want to be more of a business consultant side, whether you want to be an RPA developer or a citizen developer. So you have all these options here. You also have task mining, solution architect here, you see. This is for the ones with a bit of technical knowledge before, so you can start directly with product with Studio and start on the RPA developer track, and then optimize that track. And if you have no previous technical knowledge, you can start as a citizen developer here with RPA citizen developer. It also, it really matters a lot of from what industry you come, what previous experience you come, and what, let's say, business line you would like to implement RPA on, or if you really like to go full-fledged into becoming an RPA developer.
Okay, got it.
Okay, let's
Thank you.
see. A pleasure. So let's see now what's the next question, because, okay, it was Pradipa. Okay, anyone else? We still have like 20 minutes. Would anyone else like to ask a question to the panel? To Hiba, do you want to ask a question?
Yes, I have a question.
Hiba actually asked some questions here for you guys to answer. Is that what you wanted to ask?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back to the questions you asked here, because Hiba was trying to ask the audience some questions. So. Here.
Yeah, it's also the same for skills. Personally, like right now in your position, do you work as a team or are you by yourself? And also in your team, do you have like other girls like that work with you? And is it easier for you to work with boys, with girls, or with whoever it's working pretty fine? Just to have some some information.
So anyone who would like to answer Hiba's question, please just unmute or tell me in the chat if you are unable to unmute, and I will unmute you and answer Hiba's question, please.
I mean, I can definitely start off with my experience as well. So I generally work in teams, but a lot of the developer side, like from, if it's purely the development, a lot of that is just me and me and my headphones, just trying to get that done. But I'm really lucky to work with some great teams, and I've always had a mix of male to female in my teams. I think again that has been very lucky, and in the companies that I've worked with and the clients that I've worked with. I also do seem to kind of gravitate towards the women in the team, and I don't know if that's me or if that's just that's kind of everyone's experience, but I do find that there's something that when you've got a woman next to you who's working really well, and that connection kind of works, it's really productive and really powerful. So I think the balance is always really good. I think having a variety of people in your team is always beneficial. And as I said, I'm very lucky to have had some really, really incredible females around me that I've learned so much from. But yeah, that's my experience. I don't know if that's kind of everyone's.
I would like to answer Hiba's question as well. So we are a team of 4, and I'm the only developer in my team, and we have a business analyst who's a female, and we have an RPA lead and solution architect. Both are male, and they have not still. I'm waiting for their Women's Day wishes. I'm waiting until 5 p.m. to get back to them, because I think they forgot to wish me today. So yeah, it's like a 50-50 proportion in our team, and it's going on well. We are in the process of recruiting more developers now. So we got profiles from female profiles. So obviously I'm leaning towards selecting the profiles. So that is my case. Thank you.
Thank you, Geeta. Anyone else wants to answer Hiba's question? Because
I think I've usually worked in a team, and for me it doesn't matter. Like, I like the gender variety I have got in my team, a mix of all the genders. Like, but the only thing I'm like, for me, it's like, as long as the work is getting done, I don't mind. But also, like, I would be more protective if it's a female coworker in my team and is struggling with something. I would be more open to help and like reach out, and do not, like, I won't wait for her to come to me. But yeah, it wouldn't matter. Like, as long as the work is getting done, I'm okay. Be a female or a male, just getting me my work.
I was actually thinking now of what you said earlier about your experience in APAC and how the roles and gender towards the gender are there distributed, because I was thinking, I mean, of course, I'm in the UiPath community team and our team is global. So currently we have like this, we have one colleague in America, we have a team in EMEA, and we have our colleagues from APAC. Americas and EMEA are all females currently. APAC is all male team. So we have 3 colleagues from India, all of them are male. And I was just, I mean, for us it's good because we're trying to gender balance the team, and we are really happy to have them. But now after, when I heard you say that about APAC, I was thinking like, why,
So true.
it might that have something to do with it? I'm not sure, because actually I think community roles are pretty accessible for a woman, so it's not really like you require technical expertise to hold a community role. It's sort of a more soft skills roles or marketing skills roles, actually growth marketing. So I was thinking it would have been pretty available for women to apply, but we have 3 colleagues from APAC. Yeah.
Well, yes, you just validated my point. Thank you.
Well, yeah, I'm nothing against them. I mean, they're great colleagues.
Yeah.
They bring the gender balance we need in the team. So we are careful about that, and we're actually looking.
So
and
the thing
also,
is, with these sessions that we have, we're not trying to turn the table around. We're not turning around, we're not saying to men folks, come on, like you are at gunpoint. But it's just that we want that kind of balance. And it would only come if, like, not just Europe or a market in the UK or someplace. It has to be Asia. It has to be APAC. Everyone has to come in and pitch in.
Yeah, it's true. It's true that also like globally is different. Like this empowerment is different and access is different probably. But leveling it out, I mean, in the long way, we can only encourage and yeah, you cannot like really deep dive and get them, but keeping open mindset and always encourage and always empower, make things available. I think that's the right way to go. Find the channels to be available. So yeah. Any other questions anyone might have from the audience that we have with us?
It's me again. I have another question because like it's been like almost a year that I've been in a company. Before I was like a trainee, so I'm still starting in the companies. And so in a few months or in a few weeks, I'll have the famous, I don't know if it's the same in the word, but you know, the meeting where you have to negotiate your salary and your promotions, etc.
Yeah.
So the question is how to deal with it. It's basically my first time. So if you have like some ideas or tips, you know, go for it.
Tough one. Just be very open. We want money. No, actually, like whatever you've done throughout the year, you keep a track of that. And when you're sitting with your manager, make sure that you present your achievements that you've got throughout the year. And keep it open, like honestly, keep it open. They are there to help you, just know that. And yeah.
Yeah.
But very difficult meeting. Good luck.
Yeah, I think it's difficult when you like. I think first time is difficult, but then afterwards you pretty much realize the balance and the negotiation, and it's very good to be open and truthful about it. I think not really think of it as a fabricated scenario that you must design for that meeting. Just really put your cards on the table. So if you have the objectives, you met them, then it's okay. You go forward with that story. And it's also good. I mean, usually when I do this kind of reviews, I try to set to have the baseline. I mean, where I departed from and how I am now from that baseline, what I have achieved compared to the objectives that have been set, compared to the previous baseline before me. So actually to be able to really track your development and achievements and show that. And also be open and really human about your needs, I think. So if you know there is like a minimum that you need, or if you have a sense that you are not like leveled with your colleagues or something like that. So it can, of course, it can be a material need, like, you know, you need that money for rent, food, utilities, and stuff like that. But there is this part of the salary price, I think, and for women, I think for men, this has been a long time issue, but for women, it's something that needs to be acknowledged, because part of your salary is actually directly translates into sort of your dignity and pride as an expert, you know, as a professional. Yeah, so that's the part that you don't live on with no roof, with no food. That's the part that has to do with your self-respect as a professional. And for men, for sure, this counts a lot. I mean, you know, expensive watches on hand. So that's how the salary translates to men executives. So you should find a way that translates to you, and to manage to get that segment and that price for your dignity.
More Gucci bag for us.
I personally don't like Gucci, but
also, I would say, like, don't get disheartened when you go in these kind of meetings. It's like a review process. You would present that you've achieved something, and there would be a totally different approach to the same thing from your manager's side. Just be open and discuss it out. Don't get disheartened when it happens. It will happen, like,
yeah,
for sure.
You have in the chat a very easy advice from one of your chapter colleagues, which is set easy objectives. So that's how a man thinks about it. It's very practical. Set easy objectives.
I can defend my idea. So just Hiba, this is one advice. I've fallen this trap like twice, I think. When your manager says, "I know you can do this, you'll attain this objective within a year or maybe less," that's actually a trap. You will not attend that objective, and he will most definitely come back and say, you did not attend this objective. So whatever you're trying to negotiate, he's gonna go like, see, I wanna be like, I wanna help, but see, you did not really obtain what I've asked from you last year. So set easy objectives. If he tries to give you like a harder one, or like say, I know you can do this, you say yes, but that's not an objective. I'll just keep it aside, and then that's how you negotiate. And if he asks you about your salary, always set an amount way too high. So when he tries to, negotiate, you get what you want, maybe a bit more. So maybe that's a man thinks, sorry again, but that's my advice. So always exaggerate money-wise and not objective-wise.
This is the Wolf of
Best
Wall
of luck.
Street version, yeah. Katharine, I think you wanted to say something.
Yeah, something that you might just also want to consider if you get to a point where your managers say that they can't maybe meet your highest, that up their salary. Be open to the feedback that they give as to why. So if they come back and say, yeah, but these are the things that we needed you to do, and you did some of them, but maybe not to the degree that we wanted you to do, then it's a good question to ask in those kinds of sessions, especially for the year leading on, is what can I do better and how can I achieve more? And I think that's a lot. I think you get a lot more out of those meetings when you can find personal growth and professional growth, not just financial growth.
I think to add on to that as well, because I had that to me, I asked for an increase in my salary. I got a promotion and the salary was given to me, and I actually asked for more. Unfortunately, at that point, it was a no, and I did exactly that. I took away the feedback, but I wasn't disheartened. I was actually really proud of myself to have asked for more. And the reason I did it actually was, if I was a man, would a man have asked for more money? And the answer in my head was yes. So that's why I did it. So it, I definitely think, have the confidence to do that. And don't be disheartened if the answer is no. I think absolutely, as Jacqui said, just listen to the reasons why, and it's all about your personal development.
Yeah, just to add, like if I was able to give an audible clap, I would have done that. Like, really be open what you want.
Yeah, and also, like, when you set your objectives, I mean, I can see why Abdel has said what he said, but also it has to do with your learning curve, because as you go through the years, there are some things that get in hand and you feel like you can master well, and you can, of course, grow from those. You cannot set the same objectives every year, so you should think of a comfortable incremental for you. I mean, your manager is going to give that too, but it would also optimize the way you work in your professional development. So you must accept like an incremental on your objectives. I think that if you can achieve a baseline, like quantitative baseline or something similar to that baseline, 20-25% incremental every year, it's natural.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much, girls. So I'll have now some matter, to now I know that I have to prepare myself. I just don't have to go like this and be like, please give me more money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyone else have any question? Maybe one of the men in the session, because I see we have some men in the session too. Abdel, do you have any question for our women panel?
Actually, no, but I'm really proud of what you guys done, and I know Hiba and all of what she did throughout these last 2 years. I'm really proud of her, and I wish her all the best, same as you all, and keep up the good work. Best of luck.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Actually, I have like one last question to ask, because before this call we had this company International Women's Day call, and there were some issues addressed there, and I think I learned a lot from that call. So I was curious, because I'm non-technical, of course. I'm not a developer, I'm a community manager. Even if it is an RPA community, I am not an RPA developer. So I was really curious as RPA developers, like whether there are two things that I'm curious about, like how do your male colleagues view you, whether you feel that you are viewed as an equal in your office to your male colleagues, and how does your manager view you compared to your male colleagues? Like, do you feel there is sometimes you would end up in a blind spot, or feel discouraged or feel advantaged, or is there any scale or in that impressions and actions to your male colleagues and your manager? How do you function in that context as a woman RPA developer in a developer environment, which is, yes, percentage now is ruled by men?
I'll take this. Like, I'm very passionate about answering this question. I don't know why, but like when I started up as an integration developer back in India. And when I started, like all of my team members were male members. So whenever a project came in that was like very difficult or complex project, they wouldn't consider me because they had this mindset, she's a girl, how much would she know, like coding wise? So I had to push back. And there were times when I was explaining the codes and they would say, oh no, I think you meant this. And I had to be like, I have to put my foot down. And I was like, no, I meant this and it has to be that. So these kind of, in my initial years, I've faced it. And that kind of, hardened me up. So like when I changed careers, I made sure that like what I am saying is considered through like the value of my words actually taken on point and not manipulated. And even like I never had female team members up until now. So whenever I had somebody who wanted to be a part of it, I would let her have the space to speak and given an equal opportunity. So it's not that like if you're learning code is not gender based, and also medically speaking, women brain content is far more better than male content because you've got fat content more in your head. So not just like being sarcastic about it, like very, very medically true at this moment. So yeah, these kind of comparison has to stop at some point of time, and I've faced it and I know it's very demeaning.
Okay.
I think every woman in this industry that I've ever spoken to can tell you a story of a time when they've had a comment made to them or something like that. This was many years ago, but I was talking to someone from a client who they asked if they could speak to the senior person on the team, and I was the senior person on the team, so I had to tell that person. I said, no, you are speaking to the right person, which wasn't very nice, but it's not every day, and I think it is getting better. There are definitely still instances, but I kind of mentioned this earlier. I'm really lucky to be surrounded by some incredible women. My manager, she was on this call at some point, is probably one of the most supportive women I know, and is always there to back me up. And I don't think there is any difference in the way that we are, I am viewed in terms of my colleagues. I have some really, really supportive male colleagues, some really, really supportive female colleagues as well. But it still happens, and there are definitely stories that we can tell. So as long as they're becoming few and far in between, that's in the right direction.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah. Just to add on to that as well, I think in the places that I think we've experienced these kinds of challenges as well, it's not just been a gender thing, but definitely an age thing as well. So that's something that I keep going back to. I mean, I think I was lucky enough to miss the harshest, division between males and females in the industry. But I kind of entered at a time when people were looked down on, based on age. So very similar story to Katharine. It's just mine was more age related. So yeah, that's something that I think is going to take some time to get through. I think that's probably going to be one of the newer challenges that we're going to face. And I think we're just going to have to be supportive and inclusive, because I think that's something that I think everybody would at some point or another kind of be guilty of, looking down on somebody younger. So yeah, I think that's probably something that we can learn from all of this as well.
Very nice. Hiba?
Yeah, maybe to add a bit more. Personally, my manager is a male, so it's kind of different. Because, for instance, when he has a difficult project, he's just like, okay, Hiba, just go for it. And he's just like throwing it and we'll see later. And when I compare it with my other male workers, it's more like, okay, where are you? How is it going on, etc. So there's like different manners of of working. And yeah, basically it's putting more pressure. I'm just like, okay, I need to do it. And even when it's like a basic task, if we're doing it, well, that's what I feel. But like when I'm doing it as a female, I'm just like, okay, I did it. And for the other male workers, it's just like, wow, you did it, etc. It's just like, okay, it's not crazy. It's just basic. So yeah, I feel like we're underestimated, and when we're doing something great, it's just basic, just like, wow, incredible, etc. So yeah.
Yeah, perhaps it comes from a narrative of having to prove yourself. So this is just milestones achieved, not like real achievements. It's that you marking milestones. Yeah.
Yeah.
To end on the positive note now, and the short answer, because you are RPA developers in this apparently developer man-run world, do you also sometimes feel as superheroes, like wearing a superhero cape and feeling extra cool because you're an RPA developer and you're a woman, and when someone asks you on the street or I don't know, in a restaurant, like, hi, what do you do? I'm an RPA developer. Do you feel that anytime?
Yeah,
a portion of Black Widow at this point of time.
Yep, pretty much the same.
Yeah, cool. It's good if you're feeling that. I hope it will be catchy for any other women which are today in our call, because this is why I asked this question. I think it is a superpower to be a woman developer, whether you are in an RPA or other developer languages. But especially, I think certainly now women in UiPath community have good women profile to look up to. Mentors they can reach. I also shared the mentorship program link. And you have all our LinkedIns now. You have the community hub page, the academy page, and please connect with us if you need any more help. Thank you all for being with us today. Let me move to the next slide here. Yeah. And I hope you enjoyed this session. Tell us a bit of feedback in the chat or send us feedback to community@uipath.com. I hope it was inspiring. Thank you very much, Katharine, for moderating the session and asking a lot of insightful questions and pinging back to the panelists. And thank you, Jacqui, Juveria, and Hiba. For certainly, you are heroes in our chapters. All of you do very great work for community. The new MVP title just started, so we're looking a lot of glory ahead for this year to come. And yes, I hope we'll be able to redo this session maybe sometime in autumn, because I thought it was a very nice session and we had a good stable audience throughout the session. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Cristina. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a lovely one further.